Hey guys, it's Ivory. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing another wear test. I will be reviewing the Revlon Colorstay Full Cover Foundation. It is supposed to be matte and full coverage and last up to 24 hours. I'm not keeping it on for 24 hours. I probably am going to keep it somewhere around maybe 10 to 12. We'll see how I feel. If by, the 8-hour mark I can tell it's bad, then I'm just going to take it off. I can conclude there. Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Wednesday and post occasional bonus videos throughout the week. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, before we get started, I just want to say that the product is a standard 1 fluid ounce. And I believe when I purchased it at Meijer's, it was around $11, 11 and some change. So I don't know if it's cheaper anywhere else, but I was grocery shopping and I needed a new foundation and I saw this one, so I picked it up. As far as packaging goes, I do not really like this packaging for 2 reasons. The first main reason is because I do not like when my foundations come in a squeezy tube. I much rather prefer that they come in a pump. That is just my personal preference. But that is one thing that I do not like about the packaging. Number 2, you cannot truly see what color this is. I know they try really hard to match this shade to match what it's going to be like in the squeezy tube, but I would rather just have a clear tube where I can see what the foundation actually looks like. If we look with the Maybelline Superstay, this is glass, so I can see exactly like what it looks like and just hold it up to my face and see if it really is my color, versus you don't really know what you're getting until you open it. And depending on what place you go, they may not let you return it just because you already opened it. So I would really rather that this would be clear. So I squeezed just a little bit into my plate. The texture looks really moussey. I'm also going to prime, so I'll be using the Rimmel Stay Matte Mattifying Primer. Okay, so this side I will be using my Real Techniques Beauty Sponge. Oh yeah, it has a super whipped texture to it. For anyone that's wondering, I got the shade 330 Natural Tan. I'm not gonna lie, it looks a little too dark for me. But when I set it with my powder, it does lighten it up a little bit, so hopefully this doesn't oxidize. Okay, so this is one layer using the beauty sponge. I still see a little bit of redness and darkness from my acne scarring. So I'd say this is medium coverage with a sponge. And then on this side, I'll be using my typical round kabuki brush. It is 8:30 in the morning right now. I have no idea why I'm awake. I'm like a high schooler. I can sleep until like 11 o'clock, no problem. Like the more sleep I get, the better. I know some people are like, oh, I feel worse if I get more sleep, but that's not me. And I went to bed pretty late too. I went to bed around midnight. So I woke up at 6. In that time, I was able to clean the house, do the laundry, feed the dogs, take them out, make my husband breakfast, and prep his meals for the rest of the week. All before 8:30 now. I'm waiting for that midday to crash. I'm already starting to feel it. Okay, so this is one layer with the brush. I like to swirl it in, and then where there are areas where I have a little more acne, I will just stipple it in so that the product doesn't move as much. I think using the brush is actually a lot better, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the brush on this side to get the coverage that I want. Okay, so this is a good amount of coverage for me. I will say that on my nose, when I was applying it with a brush, I was having a little bit of an issue. I could see when I was stippling it in the brush marks, so I actually had to use a beauty blender to smooth that out. That doesn't typically happen with my other foundations, but it happened here, so I just wanted to note that. I'm gonna apply the rest of my face off of camera and then I will be right back. Okay, so now the rest of my face is complete. I did do a tutorial on this eye look, so if you do want to know how to do it, I will link it in the description box below. Everything glided on pretty well. I didn't have any issues whatsoever with my bronzer or my blush. It hasn't even been an hour and I'm noticing a crack right here already. This usually doesn't form until like midday, so I had to use the beauty blender to kind of buff it out and then set it with a lot of powder. Other than that, I don't see any visible issues. So I will check in around the 4-hour mark and let you see what is going on. Okay guys, so I have had this foundation on for about 4 hours now, give or take a half hour. As far as oils go, it really doesn't look too bad. I don't think I look too shiny right now. It looks about the same as when I first applied it. As far as longevity, I don't know if you guys can see my chin, but it's separated here, so it didn't last, and in the crevices of my nose it has broken up a little bit, and also my forehead right here. From making like facial expressions, I can see that it has settled into my fine lines. As far as transferring, it doesn't transfer, so that's good. So far it's okay. I think from far away I look okay. A little close I see a little bit of separation and settling. So those are my two main things. But as far as staying matte, I think it's doing an okay job. So yeah. Okay, so that is the 4-hour mark, and I will come back in a couple more hours to give my final thoughts. Okay, so it is about 8:45 right now, so I actually was able to keep this foundation on for about 12 hours. The foundation says it's supposed to last up to 24 hours, so I was able to make it to the halfway point. I'm gonna zoom you on in now so that we can get a closer look as to what we're dealing with. So if we can see, it is completely broken up around my nose area, and my nose in general is very separated. It has totally, I don't know how I get lipstick here. Like, how is that possible? Does anyone else have that? But it's separated around my chin, my smile lines, and my T-zone. It's not hot, guys. It has settled into my fine lines and it has bunched. I'm a little shiny, but it's not too bad. I think for 12 hours, the finish is actually okay. As far as transferring, it does transfer. I don't know if you can see it, but it does transfer. Keep in mind that I did not touch up the foundation whatsoever. I didn't use blotting sheets throughout the day. I left it as is. Sometimes with certain foundations, I will have to blot, and I don't mind that. But the foundations that I am able to blot, they don't bunch up or crack and separate. So that is why I still tolerate them. If you can see in my nose right there, like there is no foundation anymore now that I have blotted. Using a tissue did reduce a lot of the oils and it looks nice and matte again, but I'm not loving this foundation. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think maybe if you have combination skin or dry skin, this would work really well for you. I have very high expectations for my foundations. It's probably my favorite thing out of my whole makeup routine. When I have a good base, I feel like I can conquer the world. I don't feel so great in this one, so yeah, I don't want to be recommending something that I'm not super excited about. I think that if I kept this only for 8 hours, like a typical work day, this might be okay. If you're expecting to be out in the sun with this, or exercising in this, or going dancing with this, I don't think it would be a good foundation. As far as coverage goes, I think it was okay. It's medium to full. It was relatively easy to build. It was a lot easier to apply with a brush. This is just an average foundation for me. I think it did an okay job, but there are other drugstore foundations that I am more gravitated towards. If I had to rate this, I'd say I'd give it a C+. So that is it, guys. That concludes this wear test. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what other foundations you would like me to try to see if it is good for acne prone skin and oily skin. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!